Well, hello. I do have one person watching. So, hi, how are you? I'm Wes Allen with DM Tales, and Paige is over. And I actually got home last night, and I have no voice. So, I got my voice back, went to Paige, lost it again. We'll see how that works out. Croncud might hit. Con crud. I always want to reverse the R. Just had some water with some lemon in it as I snort. But I got reflections on Paige this year. Should be fun. And anybody from my channel who was there, and I also have to know you. I don't want to bring just anybody on, but if you want to come on and chat, let me know, and I'll try to throw you in here. We'll get you the link. I do have a couple friends who were there for the first time. One of whom it was his really first big convention experience, and he actually was there later than I was, and I'll talk about why that was a good thing in a little bit. Really kind of cool. But I wanted to start off with talking about some of the things that I brought home with me. And I'm snorting a lot because I got snot. There we go. That was pleasant. Wonderfully tired. So, I got home yesterday because people tend to miss me when I'm not here on Sunday morning when I'm not on vacation. I hope they miss me when I'm on vacation too, but definitely when I'm not on vacation. So I came back and it snowed. And it wasn't a lot of snow, but the thing about the snow was that it started at 7:30, and it wasn't supposed to stop or have a break until 9. And we have a big thing that you got to shovel off and multiple stairwells. And there's basically me. And I also have to set up to get ready for worship. And I was like, what do we do? And they said, well, let's wait till 8:30. So I'm okay. And it had been sleeting all day yesterday, so I figured it was gonna be really awful snow, and I was gonna go out. I'm gonna test my driveway. It's gonna be way too heavy, and we're just we're canceling because we're not gonna be able to get this stuff out. We're gonna hurt ourselves trying to do it. And I went out, and it was really easy to push, dang it. So I pushed the snow out my driveway, went up the sidewalk towards my neighbors because that's all church property over that way. And then I went around the corner and I went down around that block and then went up halfway the other block to do the other side of the church on the sidewalk. Did the front steps, front stoop, and the driveway was about the parking area. And it was just about 8:30. And I looked down and everybody's gone, really, it's not stopping. We probably should just cancel. Nobody was going to come anyway because I have a very older congregation at this point. And I went, okay. And I did look back, and basically everything that I had shoveled off by hand was already covered. Even though it was getting to the big flakes, it was still coming down pretty hard. And then it stopped and it warmed up a little bit and most of it melted and it was clear all day. And then this sun went down and it started accumulating again. So now everything is covered and I don't want to have to do that again tomorrow. That's just not going to be fun. So we will see how things turn out. So anyway, I left Paige early and I didn't get to go to worship anyway. So I missed a day at Paige. Oh, well. All right. But it was worth it because if I would have been able to have worship, things would have been great. So I got a couple things that I'm bringing back with me, and I'm really rambling because I'm very tired, but I'm also bored. And I'm trying to decompress. So why not decompress on stream where people can pay attention? So I did bring back a couple things. First is, and I when I'm at conventions, I forget to take pictures. I don't know why. I just don't. And I've never until I had kind of my Shutterbug real hobbyist phase with my removable or changeable lens camera. I just wasn't that person who was taking pictures everywhere. And then when I had the changeable lens pictures or camera, I was never taking pictures of people because people were boring. Doesn't sound very good to be as a pastor. But I always wanted to go and do the landscape and whatnot. And I since just stopped using my changeable lens camera because my phone takes better pictures than it now, and that depresses me a little bit. And I just don't think. And so I'm in line to get my badge, and someone hands me this 3D printed eagle helmet and says, "I wish, I'm sorry that this isn't good because you guys lost last week because we have an offensive coordinator that didn't like to play with the lead, which just was really strange." And I was overwhelmed. I couldn't believe someone was giving me something like that. It's a 3D printed Eagles helmet in Kelly green. It's a Kelly green, so it's old school. That's my childhood. And I did not get a picture with you. And I totally, like, my name blanked on the badge. So I am going to be putting this out on all of my channels. I'm going to post it as a post in the community tab on the YouTube, so I can properly thank you for this, because and I mean, I had just gotten there Thursday morning after a horrible drive because traffic is terrible, and my brain wasn't off, but still, I should have, like, taken a picture and been like, "This is who gave this to me," and it went right out my brain. I'm like, "This was so cool," and I was like, "I should have got a picture with this person. I'm an idiot." And when I say that I am socially awkward and I don't understand how to do things, like, that's one of the things. Like, I just don't get that. I remember it after the fact, and I don't remember it there. So let's see if I can do this in order. There were things that were given to me. This is one that I would have bought, but Al Spader likes to be sneaky. I'm setting up the interview booth for Paige because I was there interviewing people. And I'll talk a little bit about who I interviewed in a second. But Al Spader walks by and goes, "Here, Wes, this is media cover copy." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And I look down. Al, I was going to buy that. He just ran off and he just went bye-bye. So that was fun. But this is his book, Redacted. And this is like the aliens are real. X-Files meets 1950s wackadoodles. And it runs on Modifius 2D20 engine. At least I think it does. I think we had talked about it. And he put a wonderful inscription on the inside just saying, "Wes, thanks for all you do for the community." I forgot the Y. I love that, Al. May your name never be redacted. Oh, that's very nice. So look for this pretty soon. You can get this on Drive-Thru RPG. It's a print-on-demand hardcover, and it's not too thick, so you're not going to have that problem. It's like, "Oh, it doesn't lie flat." No, it's really cool. And I looked at the interior a little bit, and let me see if I can find one of the nice pages. I mean, they're all nice pages, but I mean, just come on. Is that cool or what? And I know skeuomorphic design has kind of had its day, but there's certain books like Savage World's got a little bit of in it, and it just fits the genre. So nice. So I'm really excited to get into this. That's going to be a lot of fun. Next thing that was given to me, and I wonder if Zach's going to get here and watch if he's not still sitting in a hotel. I'm hoping tomorrow night to be able to stream with folks, because like my friend Dave is going to be driving home tomorrow. I don't even know if he'll be able to do it. Grimwood Games, everybody, you know who Dave is. But I got these dice from Zach, who wrote Peasantry and is getting that thing out. And people from my group played Peasantry and they thought it was amazing. So these are just wooden pip dice, but he gave them to me because he's like, "Hey, Wes, this will help your dice curse." And I don't know which one is which, and I have not rolled them yet. I don't have my tray out here, so I don't want to break anything. One of them only rolls low and one of them only rolls high. So depending on what type of a mood I am, I can pull these out. It's like, I'm not necessarily cheating, but I want to see how accurate that is. So that should be kind of fun. And I like these wood. They're just wood burnt pip dice. So kind of cool. So thanks, Zach. Zach also has the most hysterical, and I should have put this on my, should have downloaded it and put it on the EV Mook so I could see it. But this is Zach cosplaying. I'll put it up here. That's Zach. He does not always look like that, but that is his normal. That is his cosplay look as the peasant. And no, it is not historically accurate, as I get a notification coming in for the page Shadow Dark. No, it's not historically accurate. Peasants would have worn bright colors. We think everybody was drab, but they were not. But it looked really cool. It had like moss growing on his jacket. It was so fun. That was so cool. Let me go out of order. I'll go to the last thing that someone gave me. So I got a lot of donations for EcclesiaCon. Monty Cook Games gave me a huge box for the EcclesiaCon auction. And Jason Shadowmane gave me a lot of his duplicates of a bunch of old AD&D books. And he gave me this bag. He's I got a problem because like I didn't realize how many duplicates I had of like the original Fiend Folio, and I think the Player's Handbook's in there. I think the second edition DMG and PHP are in there. I haven't even gone through his bag yet, but one of the things he had contacted me on, because he knew I was really interested in the setting and I was planning on picking it up. Maybe Money Cook's not going to be happy about this, but it was part of a Kickstarter, and this was the one he was least interested in, and he wasn't going to use it, so he gave me Gunslinger Knights, where you play knights who ride motorcycles and shoot guns. And is that not brilliant? I mean, come on, that's just absolutely amazing. Oh, there are 4. I had the wrong thing on here. Let's go. I'm wondering, why are there no chats? And I'm looking at my private conversation. This is where I am very tired. Let's see who's all here. We got Skillum. Forget to take pictures because you're too busy taking video. I wasn't taking video. I didn't take anything. I'll put this on so people can see. I did not do anything for my channel the entire time I was there. I handed out a few business cards, but most of the times I forgot to have them on me. I did hand out some EcclesiaCon cards. That was good. Twisted Mage, I can feel the pain in your voice when your camera is outshined by your phone. Oh, it's so sad. And there's Jason. Thank you for Gunslinger Knights. Really happy. Twisted Mage, you're not allowed to be here. What's that about? What's going on there, Scrat? I don't understand. Shadowmane, hey y'all. What do you mean, Scrat? Oh, we're going to get the whole rundown. You got to save all your views and watch time for my streams. I am turning on. Oh no, I got out of this freaking Stingbot model. Oh, I'll tell that story too, so Ron doesn't think I'm trying to hide it. All right, do not disturb us until you guys stop hearing the beeps. I'm a man of many views, Scrats. Don't worry. Oh my gosh. Oh, look, that gray Allen looks so derpy. I love it. Yeah, Redacted looks really cool. And Jason, thank you for all your donation, and thank you for Gunslinger Knights. That's just really cool. All right, I think I'm all caught up. I had the wrong tab open, so I was like, why isn't anybody commenting? There's people watching, but there's not here. And I will talk about the Stingbat model. If I forget after I do this, yell at me. I might actually put on, like, you might see me walk out of frame and like go get water quick because I'm really losing my voice, but this is kind of fun. So back in the day, I loved the TMNT game, and it's shown its age. It needs to be modernized a little bit. But one of the cool things that TMNT did is, towards the end of their licensing run, originally they created the After the Bomb to explain where all these mutated animals came from, apart from the TMNT lore. And yeah, they kept putting these books out for mutants After the Bomb. And my favorite one, it was always because the artwork was this one, Mutants Down Under. And you can get this as a PDF on DriveThruRPG, but I do not think they have a print on demand. And so, yeah, you know what? I played it and it's fun. I really didn't like my GM at GameholeCon. I want to try to play it again. I can give you the book back if you want. It really is up my alley. So, but this was my favorite of the Mutants After the Bomb books. And it was because of the artwork. And let me see if I can find it, because this is the one that did it for me. It should be right at the beginning. I mean, you have, Mad Max kangaroos, and that's always fun. Oh, there it is. That's the one that always did it for me. That was the picture that really got me in. So this is like the original printing. This has not been updated. Not the original printing, but the original style hasn't been updated. You have giant crickets that people are riding. So, and you'd think, like, for mutants, like, Australia is the place to be, because there's so many freaky animals there. So I just had to pick this up just to, like, kind of read it again and see how the things were down. That would be kind of fun. And then I knew I was going to pick this up. And I had said that I was not going to be picking up any games for the foreseeable future because, well, I have a backlog. I'm starting to catch up a little bit, but I still got to read Dolmenwood. I still have to read the Cosmere Stormlight core rule book. I haven't even really opened Savage Rifts yet. And I really want to get into the lore for that. So I'm trying not to buy new books. I have slowed down, but not entirely. I didn't know I was going to get this, and I didn't know I was going to get this version because TMNT was in a Kickstarter last year. It was in a window where I just didn't have the money to back it right then, and I figured if it comes out retail, I'll get it, and Palladium Books was there at, Page, and I'm like, "Well, I'm buying it for this. I don't really care how much it is." And, so there's 2 versions. There's the full color version, and there's this version. Now, the full color version has, if you look at first glance, and I actually did this, you think it is the original cover. They did update it. It is a new drawing. It has been newly inked, and they gave the turtles their different bandanas, like the different eye coverings. And that's one thing that folks who grew up with a cartoon don't realize is that originally the four brothers, the turtles, all had red. So if you go back to like the original graphic novels, they're all wearing red, and like they changed it because like, well, that just makes more sense. They get a little bit more individuality. They're all turtles. They kind of look alike. Change the color, but I remember when they were all red, and so that's fun. And so this is the black and white, and the only color that comes out is red. And can I just tell you, because the original book, the cover was color, and the interior was all black and white, and like it just pops. It is beautiful. Well, the original cover was the original printing 2 colors, red and black? I just remember it being all black, but I could be completely wrong. I remember the cover being full color though, because I had the original book. I mean, come on, really? Domanwood, my beloved, very good Twisted Mage. I mean, these guys are the Terror Bears, which are obvious riff off of the Care Bears, because this is what we did in the 80s and 90s. The the TCRI aliens, who are not Krang. That's what Krang is based off of in the cartoon. These guys are much different. It is, yeah. I mean, look at that badger. It's so good. Oh no, that's Fred Hamster. Excuse me. You can see that. Let's go through here. So they did have Eastman and Laird do a new drawing and inking, coloring for this, which Palladium was quite pleased to be able to get them kind of in the same room again. I mean, just so cool. So this is not I guess they're calling it Palladium 2.5, kind of explains the mutation where they go from. Palladium 1.5. They did not do a huge update on the mechanics. It kind of needs it, to be honest. Excuse me. I'm really getting scratchy throat, but it does need to, the mechanics are dated. I mean, it feels old. It was really cool, and I got it because I want to do some character creation on stream, because I want to try to go through and remember how I created a new possum or possum, which in my brain always acted and sounded like Nick Fury. So I'm going to try to do that on stream. So that should be kind of fun. We'll see how that works. And I might try to run an adventure or 2 of it, because it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I really would like to get that to a table. So that's what I brought back for me. I have the donations from Shadowmane. Thank you again, because it's a big bag. Dave gave me 2 books of Ironbound for the auction. He also bought, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but he's donating a top secret box set to the auction. And I felt so bad about that. There's a story behind that I won't put out on stream until I can get Pete and Dave in the same chat. So that's going through. Inkwell Designs donated a couple of decks and some of their dice generator or their dungeon generator dice for the auction. And Rose Nickel. And let me tell you, I'm going to go through and try to bookmark all the interviews on the page interview slots, because it was kind of running most of the day. My interview with Rose Nickel was amazing, and she is awesome, just absolutely incredible, and was fantastic. Well, she donated one of her one page dice dungeons. Dave from Grimwood Games played it, and he said it was the greatest game he's ever played. And of course, me being me, went, yeah, thank you so much. Why didn't I have Rose sign this? That would have been good. So that didn't happen. And I do know that I have to send an email back that Arcane Library is going to be donating one of the special edition covers of Shadow Dark for the auction this year. So I'm quite excited about that, which should be kind of fun. So I did not get a whole lot of stuff. I only bought those 2 books. Did not get a whole bunch of stuff for me. Got a bunch of donations and got that 1 book given, or 2 books given to me. So thank you, Al, and thank you, Jason. Really kind of cool. And let's see, the original was reprinted several times. I had the first printing that Kevin and Peter did themselves. It was an odd size. Got it. Well, Jason, they're from up near your way, right? I know they're up near Al's place, or is it your place that they're up near? So kind of cool. So very cool stuff. Very kind of fun. So what else did I do at Page this year? So it was a very interesting convention for me. I was right from you. Yep. Yes, a town over. Yep. And Max Apocalypse, yes, they're doing the redo covers on their site ordered. And I will put up, before I start talking about what I'm doing, or what I did at Page, so that it's Palladium 1.5. So they added some stuff in from like Truck and Turtles into it, and they clarified some of the rules. They cleaned some stuff up that was like, whoa, something got through editing here the first time, but they haven't really changed the mechanics. So I'm kind of looking forward to a 2nd edition at some point. Might be kind of fun to see Palladium get a modern update and see what they can do with it and keep that Palladium flavor. We'll see if that ever happens. So here's what I did at Page this year, and it was a little bit different for me because this year I kind of went and I worked. So I got tagged to be one of the interviewers in the interview booth, which is, I do this for fun. And this is probably part of the result of that. Also, I was running games. And I'm nearby Ron physically. I don't want to say close, like I'm friends with Ron. I do consider Ron a friend, but that was when I met. But I'm close to Ron physically, so it's easiest for mentally to remember that, hey, we got to talk about this stuff. And I ended up trying to be the one to wrangle something to get something usable out, and hiccups and whatnots, and there's all sorts of fun antics going on. But we put together some pretty cool stuff, and it all worked out. I always get nervous because I didn't have the I didn't have physical access to the computer, so I couldn't actually test the setup we were streaming until I got to site on Thursday. So, if anybody's ever done tech setup, that's a terrifying prospect. I was like freaking out, and I know enough to try like 14 billion iterations because, dang it, I had donated a 2 lab system, like a 2 wireless lav system with a little receiver that you can plug in USB-C, and it has a USB-C to USB-A cable to plug in, and none of the onboard USB-A ports wanted to work with it. And it had to be USB-A because the camera had to connect USB-C so it could be connected as a webcam and get power. And in the wonderful world of Windows laptops, now you use one of your USB charging, or one of your USB ports to charge, and they only give you 2 USB-C ports, and that drove me nuts. Trumpet, thank you. You're great. Hey, Grid Dancer, long-time viewer, first time in the stream. Nice to hear, man. Twisted Edge, I'm going to get to your question in just a second. And I actually put that at a chat because the only Palladium game I've ever really played, or not played, I collected, we didn't have a big group, was TMNT. So if you guys have other things you want to see a 2nd edition for out of Palladium, put it in chat, please. So that was a little nerve-wracking, but it is, the interview booth is this teeny little cog in a very large machine. And so you just go in and like we're zip tying this together to try to get this to work. because that's both the time and really the energy that we had to put into it at the time. We had 4 reviewers who were great, and everybody kind of took a shift. We tried to do about 2 hours a day. There were 2 days where I did 1, and I ended up doing extra. Or no, it was 1 day where I did 1, and then I did an extra shift another time because someone had said, "Hey, I could do an interview." And, so I was there, and, it was a lot of fun doing that. Um, Constantly worried that the batteries are gonna die on the mics because they're rated for, like, between 4 to 6 hours, and we're running 6 hours going through. So I'm constantly like, I was running back from, like, games to, like, unplug the mics, like, connect my DJI mic minis to the camera and changing the inputs on the stream and letting people do that and then running back again. So that was kind of fun. Um, Really good time. And I do enjoy stuff like that. There's a reason why I get sucked into like do it. Like, hey, let's take this. We have very little in the amount of resources, and Ron was really generous in getting the camera and the computer, making sure we had the mics and the tripod. So he had all the stuff that was there, but it's all kind of like this piecemeal thing where we didn't do a huge pro set and yet still do something that's really usable. Like that makes my brain go. Like I love to figure out that puzzle. And so I did, and it was really cool and it worked, which made me even more happy with some hiccups. So I got the camera plugged in, I got the mic plugged in, everything worked. It was great. Ron, we didn't have it logged into the right Restream account, so we didn't have any of the YouTube channels set up. So the first couple of videos are actually physically on the camera, which includes like Kelsey Dion. Jeff McAleer interviewed her. And so we got to pull those off the camera at some point. And then Ron was able to finally get her because it's the first day of the con. Everybody's running around like going crazy. And Ron logged us in, and we were able to stream from that point on. So that was kind of fun. Really good time. And I got to tell you, let me see if I can get my whole schedule up. And let's see. Yeah, Grid Dancer, Trumpet does that constantly. He goes above and beyond. And it's very, very kind. So Trumpet, thank you for doing that. Also, I got Mutants Down Under. If you weren't watching when I was there, and that was my favorite book back in the day. Let me pull up my who I interviewed, and I'll look a little bit at the chat. I don't think Palladium will ever actually do a real new edition of the rules unless I miss something. And the fact that Savage Risk doesn't seem to be a runaway success seems to hurt the chances. Yeah. I don't know why Savage Risk didn't do all that well. I have it there. I need to look at it. So let me look at my Friday. Excuse me. That's okay. Very realistic. What's very realistic? Mutants Down Under? They get the emo with the waistcoat on. All right. So here's who I interviewed on. I'm going to try. A couple people missed on Thursday. So I interviewed Anna B. Meyer, who does the Greyhawk map. She's the fantasy cartographer. I have a short interview with her from Gamehole Con. This was a slightly longer version of that. I am bringing her on my actual channel so we can just do a chat, and I want to have people picking her brain the entire time. Do like an AMA with Anna B. Meyer, because Anna has been working on this Greyhawk map for like 30 years or more, and has gotten parts of it now as she's transitioned from software to software to software, where there are parts of the Greyhawk map that she has designed with things like like an actual climate model, because she was chatting with her climate scientist friends, or I forget who she was talking to during the pandemic, and they were all bored. She's like, well, why don't we have we're going to have a Zoom call and you and I can talk about it. Sure. And suddenly there were 20 people there. Really, really cool. But she's got this Greyhawk map down to 1 pixel equals 5 feet in a couple of places. Actually, more than a couple of places, but 1 pixel is 5 feet of Greyhawk. Like, this map is huge. So she is always fascinating. Please go, if you ever get a chance to see her. If you're at a convention and you see fantasy cartographer or Anna B. Meyer giving her chat about the Greyhawk map and the process by which he has created it, go to that seminar because it's great. Then we talked with Chet. Talked with Chet Minton. Chet is basically the in-house artist. He's like on team for the art of Page. So Phil E. Cheesesteak, that's his design. He's actually, this is not why I interviewed him, but he's actually going to be a sponsor and not a sponsor. No, he is a sponsor and a vendor at EcclesiaCon this year. He's going to be donating some of his artwork for the auction. So I have to remember that. That should be fine. And funny thing about Chet is that we have the exact same birthday, like not just the day, the year. Like during our conversation, he's like, well, I'm 52. I'm like, well, I'm 52. So I was born in February. Well, I was born in February. What day were you born in February? So I was born on Abraham Lincoln's birthday. I was born on Abraham Lincoln's birthday, which I've just given all the social engineers information, but oh well, it was fun. It's already on stream anyway. And he also has like when the bookmarks come, but I'm bringing him on channel to talk about it because holy smokes, Chet has the greatest origin story for D&D that I've ever heard. Like when people say that that D&D or plain TTRPGs can save people's lives or like launch them into life, like for Chet, that is like his story. And I am not going to, old guy in the chat, I don't know if anybody's older than 54 or not. We'll find out, Max Apocalypse. But like I don't want to tell his story for you. So if you can catch it over on the page thing, I'm going to try to put the bookmarks in. But also I'm bringing him on channel so he can tell the story so that this audience can hear it because it's amazing. So that's who I did on Thursday. On Friday, what shift did I go? Okay. So Friday was really cool because I got to do TR Rose Nickel, a fantastic fantasy author. She does grounded high fantasy that is kind of like at the cusp of the apocalypse. And the way that she's described it is that like there was a huge problem and they shut the doors to the goddesses and it has basically made magic slowly die off. And how do you deal with this? Because you're using it to do because this is a high fantasy world. You're using like the way people use science. You're using it for crop growth. You're using it for healing. You're using it transportation. And suddenly all that is beginning to die. And so the whole fantasy series is about, and it's actually the character is lifted from her first campaign that they didn't get to finish the campaign. And so she basically wrote the fiction around it and invented all this cool stuff. But it's all about them interacting in this world where you have different nations who are trying to deal with this. And a lot of them are just like, no, we got to hoard the stuff so we have it as long as possible. And pretty cool. And then there's one nation that of course has gone technology and they're on the cusp of the industrial revolution. They have electricity. And excuse me. As my voice is going more and more dead. Really cool. And then Tier Nickel Rose does these really amazing one-page dice dungeons that has everything you need to play, like the rules, character generation, the map, everything. It's on the one-page dice dungeon. And it's really neat. Also, Rose is deceptively cheery because she is her personality is just so gentle and charming. She's erudite. You can tell that her brain is behind all these things that she is saying, but it comes out with this wonderful affect. And so I had posed to Rose what her favorite aspect about writing TTRPG adventures was, and with this sweet face, she goes, I really think it's thinking about the best way to torture the players. And I just thought that was wonderful. It was so great. Very good. I find post what is Twisted Mid-Shows? I find pre-apocalypse and post-apocalypse more interesting than post-apocalyptic. That's interesting. I think maybe pre and during and then post is probably it. And I grew up playing Gamma World, and until I read Mutant Year Zero, I didn't understand how Gamma was really science fantasy, but it was more like post-apocalyptic. I can't talk anymore because real post-apocalyptic is dealing in that immediate aftermath. And yeah, that's more stressful than fun for me. Fallout is post-apocalypse because you're not in that immediate aftermath of trying to scavenge out some kind of civilization back. There are factions. There have been new nations created and then destroyed. Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. And then after I did TR Nickel, I got to talk with Baron DeRop, who dropped by. We had a fantastic interview. If you haven't gone and seen Baron's video about him stepping away and how he really reduced his YouTube output over the last couple of years, we talked a little bit about that and what led to it, what brought him back, why he this was the time to come back to it. I mean, it's one of those things. There is a lot of pressure to be a creative type, to put things out, and we do this because we love it. It was I love talking about TTRPGs. I love doing the reviews. I love putting the videos out. But man, you're trading off bits of your life to do this because this isn't my full-time job. And aside from my full-time job, I got a full-time family. And the burnout of that, the struggle of that is real. And I think it's important, like, go watch his video. He's not complaining. He's just like, here's where I am. Now I'm back because I'm back because I like it, but here's where I was and what the process was. And because I think a lot of folks, when we consume all these videos, we think, well, this is the best thing ever. I would never want to stop. But we're in the consumer spot, and it's a lot easier to be the consumer than it is to be the creator. Um, and then you deal with all the negative comments, or why aren't you doing this? And you didn't mention that, and you're completely wrong. That just gets tiring after a while. And so sometimes you need to take a break. And that's what Baron did. And he's back now. And I thought that was a wonderful conversation that we had together. And before I get to my Saturday interviews, let me chat with you because I don't think my schedule is correct for there. So we have post Malone apocalypse. Thanks. There we go. I don't know if there's a better term than post apocalypse. Yeah, science fantasy sometimes. We're far apocalypse. They're far post apocalypse, as opposed to near post apocalypse. Scroll plays, I took your advice and now I'm writing another idea. I'm loving world building this thing. That's cool. The Waste is Not Kind from Epic Sloth Games. That's a great title. Will really scratch any itch you may have for solid rolls, light post apocalypse energy, may be the best $5 you can spend. Thank you, Chris. Numenera is way past post apocalyptic. Numenera is science fantasy. It's like there's so many apocalypses that happened before the Ninth World. Like, I don't even know if you can call it that. But it's okay. Which advice? There we go, Scrat's here. Pre-apocalypse is fun too. I do want to play some Electric State because I think that's really kind of cool. And burnout is real. That's why I pay zero attention to reviews, etc. Me and Rich's Weird Warriors podcast. It's always a fun time. And I'm not, it's just, I just think it's important for people to understand. It's not even that it's like, oh, feel bad for us. It's burnout. It's important for consumers to understand, especially in a small niche area like this, how much effort goes into making even a bad video. And I think in some respects, sometimes it's even more effort that goes into putting a bad video because you don't know what you're doing. And so it takes longer to do it because you don't know about you don't know how to do cuts. You don't know how to use an editor to get things to where you want. So it takes a long time to learn. A lot of effort goes into it. And people can be mean. Like, well, this wasn't good. Well, it's their first video. Kind of fun. Although then I have this Scrat person running around and he does videos that makes me jealous because his reviews are the best. So that makes me sad. There's a reason why Scrat was in the green room for What were you in the green room for, Scrat? Like 12 months? 14 months? I let you out too early. Um, that's okay. Just because you make me jealous is good. So that was my Friday. And then Saturday, oh, you know what? And also on Friday, I jumped in early because there was a hole in the schedule and someone wasn't able to cover really quick. I interviewed Darlene, and that was wild. I mean, Darlene was first off, she's the sweetest lady, so Southern. There was a point during the interview with her where she did a bless his heart. Just looking at me, just bless your heart. She didn't say that, but I brought up, I was like, did you just bless your heart me? And she just kind of smiled at me. I'm like, wow. And it was the nicest bless your heart that I've ever gotten. She talked about the game that she designed. She talked about the process of making the map. She was the roommate with Anna B. Meyer. So they were rooming together. She had the lady who's doing the Greyhawk map with the 1 pixel is 5 foot, and the person who did it, the original map. And she's so just cheery and kind and nice. And I think she gets a kick out of the fact that when people recognize her, and there are so many people that do not have a clue who she is, because there are parts where her booth is empty and people are just walking by, which is just wrong. Um, and I've heard that from a couple of people. It's like, I made sure I said hello. But at one point I came up to her and I said, Darlene, I just need to thank you, because my first really big D&D map was that Greyhawk map that I got out of the Greyhawk box set. I just need to thank you, because that opened up so much of my imagination. It was wild, and it stuck with me. Like, when I see that style of map, I go back to your map. And she's looking at, she just smiled. Now, this is before we were on interview. This is when I was just walking around the floor. She just smiled. She goes, I was just doing a job. It was like, and that was the recurring theme of a couple of people I talked from for old time in the industry. They're just doing a job. I just thought it'd be fun. Just something cool. They didn't know they were making something that decades later, in another millennium, people would be coming up and thanking them for their contribution to a hobby that barely existed when they were doing all this stuff. And she just kind of smiled. She's like, I have a legacy. She was so kind. That was great. Going along with Darlene on Saturday, I sat down to do my shift. Sitting at the table, he was signing a couple of things with Frank Manser, and he's like, do you work here? I was like, yep, Frank, I do. He's like, well, you want to talk to me? I'm like, take a chair. So we sat down and talked with him for like a good 25 minutes. And that was a trip. Like, Frank is a really neat, he does not want it to be called Mentor Basic. Not ever. He's like, call it Beck Me. I do not want it called Mentor Basic. It's not something I ever wanted. He's like, well, we'll call it for you. He's like, well, thank you. I don't want it. Told me a story how he became an honorary tour guide at Gettysburg National Park for their centennial. And I pointed out, it's like, they don't do that for anybody. It's like, well, I earned it. It's like, well, yeah, but they don't do that for anybody. Like, I'm saying, you really earned that. Like, that was really cool. Frank also is like, he wears outfits I could never pull off. I mean, the man looked dapper. And just neat to hear some stories he gave me a couple of anecdotes about Hygigaxian. He calls it Hygax. And I think sometimes that I never did meet Gary back in the day, Eric. He had passed before I got back into the hobby. But I think sometimes we look back and we think, like, they didn't realize some of the silly things they were doing. And I think Hygigaxian is one of those things. Well, just Gary didn't know how to write. And so Frank points out Gary knew exactly what he was doing. Like, he knew it was silly. He was having fun. He said he'd go get a thesaurus and he'd look up a word and he'd look for the most difficult word to throw in a sentence to make it as erudite as possible because that's what he wanted to do. He just thought that was fun because, again, he didn't realize he's creating a genre that was going to last all these decades. They had a business. They couldn't believe that people wanted to buy the books. And so he's like, well, I'm going to have with this ride, I'm having fun as long as I can. And so that's what Gary did. He just made it this really erudite text with high Gygaxian. And that's Frank is like, he was just having fun with it. Like, he knew what he was doing. It wasn't like he wasn't doing it like, I wish to be pompous. Like, he's like, I'm being as obtuse as possible because I just am having a blast with this stuff. Really cool. And I understand this is Frank's memory from decades later. Um, but I thought that was kind of a fun insight for that. Had a really good chat with him. Um, who did I talk? Oh, and then I talked to Jen Glazer from Orange Cat Games. Is one of the things she's doing. That's Ron and Phil and Chet's company. She's also was the consultant for helping manage Page this year, and was never you'd see her everywhere. She was so good at everything, really helped wrangling things together, and has helped Orange Cat Games. I think she's the Kickstarter manager is her official title, if I remember. And very, very cool. I love talking with Jen, and she got sucked into this hobby, kicking and screaming. She has played, but she's always kind of been I'm the marketing manager. I do this management. I'm not the table person, and that's what she's part. But I sat down and said, "Hey, how are you doing?" And she's like, "I'm with gamers. This is great." So this is her people, even though this wasn't where she was. So that was kind of fun. Do I remember the record or tape of Tolkien reading his books? Oh, The Blight of Saruman. Yeah, I remember that. I heard that was kind of fun. I don't know what I'm walking into, but I think D&D contributed a lot to my lexicon. Well, it would have to, because you would need to figure out to learn the words in order to read High Gygaxian. I learned a whole lot of words reading D&D. Some of them were probably not socially acceptable, but I learned them. Yeah, absolutely, Chris. Very good. And then I got stood up a couple of times. So I did pull in my friend Calvin, sat down and had him tell the story of EcclesiaCon, because I just love the story of his child blowing us up during a Dragonbane encounter, and our relationship as characters, because our characters never get along. That was his first time at Page. Got to do that. His son got to play Shadow Dark with Kelsey. So he thought that was the coolest thing. He now thinks Kelsey is the greatest person on the planet, or the coolest person on the planet. He's probably not far off. Two of my Here's the funniest thing. So I adore Kelsey. Rose's comment about, well, I try to think the best way to torture the players, is right up there with Kelsey talking about, in her basic teacherish voice, about her cover artist for her Shadow Dark book, and go, well, he's just really known for his death metal covers, and how that cognitive dissonance hit. Kelsey and TR are like same likability factor for me now, like just because of that, just slight cognitive dissonance. So she's fun. And so my friend ends up playing at Kelsey's table, and he pulls a name drop of my name. I'm like, really? Like, did that register? And Kelsey's like, I love Wes. Kelsey loves anybody that she remembers. I claimed no special favor there, but I thought that was hysterical that he thought, like, oh, I'll just name drop Wes and that'll get me in good. That was really cool. I'm actually going to have Justin come on the next opportunity, and that might be tomorrow night, to talk about his first time at Page, because this was his first time at Page as well. Talk to the folks at Arkenforge. I'm going to have to bring them on to talk about their new tool set and some of the cool things that they have accomplished, and the cool things that they are coming out with pretty soon. They are trying to get on an online play version of it, so that should be pretty interesting. And his name is going off my brain. and I need to think of it, because he's a fantastic artist. He draws I interviewed him at Gamehole Con, and he likes to draw, like, pictures of puppies, like, playing fetch with dragons, and they're the most adorable things on the planet. Like, they are it's cozy artwork. Really good stuff, and he's friends with his one of his idols is Larry Elmore, and now he's friends with Larry Elmore, and that was neat. And you do when you hear stories like that, you realize just how I don't wanna say common, but how not uncommon it is. Brent Shumley, thank you, Neil. I didn't wanna get his last name wrong. Brent Shumley, artist, is so good. Go check out his stuff. Look up that name. I think it is Brent, or is it Brett? But I thought it was Brent. Why don't we do this live on stream, because that'll be fun for people. I have his card too. John Lee. Brent Chumley. There you go. Yep, Brent Chumley. Brent. A very nice guy. Here, let me put him on here. There he is. That's him. He's a really nice guy. Neat story about how he got into the artist. Really cool. Love him. And I talked to him twice, and he was really appreciative of it. And I was like, Brent, go over. He's like, yeah. I was over and sat down. So that was fun. And that was basically the end of my interview booth. The Ark and Forge guys were there. That was really kind of cool. I did not go today because, again, they missed me. They did manage to get the stream going without me there. That also made me happy. Next year, we're going to have a production team to break down and set up the computer so that talent doesn't have to worry about it. Things I am already thinking of for next year. And it was fun. And then when I wasn't doing that, I was mostly at Shadowdark. And I was signed up about 2 hours a day to help. That meant helping make characters. It meant helping get, if people were leaving, I could do exit encounters. I don't think the exit encounter thing really happened all that much. And I love the I love the Midwest uncle showing pics of his favorite nephew in this stream. I'm going to show a couple of my pictures for this one. Neil, send me the photo you took of us, and I'll try to get it. I'll try to download it, get in my photo booth or my photo stream. So I was supposed to help with Shadow Dark. First night I go on, gosh, did I help on Thursday? I helped Thursday right before no, I didn't help on Thursday. Excuse me, I was playing a game. So I was helping the first time I went, and I ended up running 2 hours because they needed an extra player. So I had nothing. And so I ended up in this mushroom cave with a bunch of players and took out a bunch of like orcs to be like beastmen. I had an ape that I think I used a Yeti mini for. Sting bats, and I did break a sting bat. I will tell you how I did that in a second. So Ron has a record of it, that I'm not trying to hide it. I did tell Anthony to report me, Ron. And so I had that, and then I just had another thing. I really wanted to play with the gray ooze because the way this Shadow Dark event was set up, she went in, you went around and tried to get treasure, and you try to get out. I was really stingy with treasure, by the way, because if they didn't get very deep, I wasn't giving them much. And so gray oozes are great because they do things like dissolve weapons and armor, and I thought that was kind of fun. And so I threw a gray ooze at people, and the first time we went, the guy is running towards the middle. I'm like, okay, make a dex check. He's like, all right. He makes the dex check. I'm like, oh, you notice there's moisture on the ground there that shouldn't be moist there. Oh, okay, can I jump over it? Sure, he jumps over it. Goes to the other side, and he's standing by it. Everybody else is getting into a fight with an ape in another room, and he's sitting in this corridor all by himself. The first thing they did was split the party. My first time running Shadow Dark at this event. And he's sitting there going, what's going to happen? And a tendril came out and tried to zap him and destroy and destroy his armor, and it didn't work. And he tried to hit it with his hammer, and the hammer wounded it, and it tried to grab the hammer and dissolve it, and it didn't work. And then a barbarian walked over and he's like, "Oh, I'm hitting the water because the water is attacking," and his sword completely fell apart. And it was this beautiful moment. It's like, "Oh no!" And it gets better because then the guy goes, "Well, I got oil." I'm like, "Yeah, sure you do. I gotta set it. Can I set it on fire?" Like, "Sure you can." Well, gray oozes are immune to fire damage, so he lights it on fire. It's like, "Okay, well, that's dealt with." I'm like, "Okay, now this thing is coming out out from under the fire," and they had gotten it down to half hit points, which meant it split into 2. So 2, uh, gray oozes suddenly got to him. "What's going on? Well, the firework, guess we can't do that." Twisted Mage, they split the first thing they did in 2 different groups. They split the party, and I think that's part of it with miniatures is that you see the whole map, so you don't think about it as much. Um, I've never seen them split the party on Foundry unless they deliberate and tell each other what a terrible idea it is first. But so they got stuck over there doing that. Some beastmen, they survived. Coming up with the gray ooze, beautiful. I will be using gray oozes from now on. Don't tell my players who are probably going to watch this. Great. Had another couple of sessions the next day that was kind of fun. And then, so I did run on Thursday. Friday, I had a couple sessions. Saturday night, I'm exhausted because I had my interview booth and I broke down the machine. I forgot that the blind barb was going after me. I had to run back and put the interview booth back up. So I'm wiped. I have no voice. I have talked with people. I am fading in the future. I can't see you, Val. So, really, am my screen going or my stream going bad? So, run back, get everybody at the table. There's a woman at the table who was beautiful. She's doing some beautiful things with RPGs. She sits down and plays. I'm having a blast with her. We ate at the cheesesteak dinner together. She's really, really cool. So now it's probably just my internet going bad. So my camera has a low FPS. Sorry. I'm getting streamed. Hold on a second here. I'm going to open up my Wi-Fi settings on my network. So let's see what I can do here. I'm going to turn off Wi-Fi and think if I can break this and bring it back on because sometimes it gets kludgy down here. All right. The low FPS warning has gone away. I'm bringing my Wi-Fi back. There you go. I have wired and Wi-Fi on. Sometimes I need both, and the wired is actually going through the same route, Ethernet router, or the same wireless router, but it doesn't. For some reason, sometimes direct it doesn't work. Tell me if this gets a little better. So, they sat down for this last track. Now, I had been in this thing before. It was a fungal forest map, but somebody had added a very small room with like an S-curve path, like a reverse S-curve passage going. There's a puddle in this room, very small, very tight. And one guy goes in and looks at it. I'm like, okay. I mean, he's got a light. Go ahead. I'll scout down here. Sure. No problem. He's standing there and I say, okay, well, we're going into combat initiative. So this is like 5 minutes into the session. They go for about an hour. I get towards the end, which is probably the problem because I'm going towards the end. But I say 4 skeletons come out of this little pool of water. First time I'd used skeletons all weekend. And was it quick access to copy yourself that is stored in the transporter buffer? Oh, I love that. Yes, I have Star Trek on my brain. So the skeletons come out, gets to one player who's, I think he had achieved 3rd level somehow. People were giving out way too much experience points, and had an AC of 17 and a lot of hit points. And he's like, I hear screaming. I'm going in. Okay, so running through the tight, narrow corridor to go to who knows what. You have no idea what's on the other side. He's like, yeah, okay. Oh, he goes, so there's 2 of them in this room. And the one guy's like, well, he's here. I guess I'm attacking. So they attack the skeletons. They don't do much damage to the skeletons. They were rolling really bad for damage. And then the skeletons started attacking them, and it did not end well. And this started a huge comedy of errors of everybody hearing fighting going on in this room, going into the narrow reverse S curve passage into this very tight space where the skeletons could get you. Because even second rank people, there was a guy with a giant spear, and he was just gutting people from the other side. It was utterly amazing. So they kept on trying to back out, but the guy with the 17 AC and all the hit points is like, no, I can stay here. I kill everything. And meanwhile, the thief is sitting out in the corridor. This is my friend Jamie. She's the lady that I had eaten at the cheesesteak dinner with. She's going, I'm not contributing anything. I need to do something. I'm like, okay, well, can I set a trap? I'm like, it's going to be a difficult check, like probably an extreme check because it's a little bit of a stressful situation right now. Someone goes, well, how about she sets a tripwire? She's like, well, that's what I was hoping to do. Like, I mean, I guess you can get to here and set a tripwire. Sure. She's like, oh, that's what I do. I'm like, okay. So she made her dexterity checks. She set up a tripwire. Her entire party's on the other side of the tripwire. So now they're retreating, and there is not one person who ran out of that room who did not trip over that tripwire and fall on the ground the entire time. The one guy is playing a dwarf cleric or a dwarf priest in Shadow Dark. He had gone into the room because he had heard somebody shout something about skeletons. He's like, I'm going to go send them back where they came from. Back in, of course, he's a dwarf, so he's got to talk with a Scottish accent. And he utterly failed and did not quite get a divine rebuke, but he failed. And he went, run! And he ran out. Well, meanwhile, somebody who had been hurt and brought down to 1 hit point and previously tripped over the wire, and he's running out. He's like, I see this person. I'm going to go heal them. And so as he's going to heal them, he forgets the tripwire's there, and he fell on top of this person. So they're in a pile at the end of the hall. Someone else comes out, falls over. It is a comedy of absolute errors. It was so great. And meanwhile, the dwarf priest is out in the main hall shouting, get out of there, you idiots. Because when I tell you it is a tight S curve, there is a spot on either side. The party had 2 thieves they could have backstabbed and just stood there all day. And nobody would let these things out of the hall. But every time they ran, they would trip over the tripwire. It was bizarre. They finally managed to bring the skeleton down. A couple players were down. They all made their death saves or somebody stabilized them to bring them back. And they started about 5 minutes after the timer had started. They ended with 8 minutes left because it was that bizarre. I just thought it was going to be a run them out of the thing and off you go back in, and they'll die, and that would be bad. So that was absolutely incredible. They all decided to leave, except for the guy with 17 armor class and a lot of hit points. He decided he was going forward, and I had denoted earlier again that there was going to be a platform that you step on that it sends a signal that tells the greyus that's in the pond that there's something to eat. And it came out, swarmed over his ankles, and promptly dissolved his armor. And that made me happy because he's like, I guess I got to go. Because he was ready to just say, I'm staying in the dungeon and running through. He had no light. I'm impervious. And that got seen right away. And I didn't even plan it that way. He just decided to do it. It was kind of cool. Time is the most important resource in the dungeon. Yep. All right. I am completely losing my voice. I can't believe there's 10 people here for this. So that's what I did for, I'll go over the game I ran and then games I played. I did run my Into the Odd Vault of Doran's adventure. The party did an excellent job. They explored a good portion of the map. Really good. Got to the end. A couple of people did die. That was kind of fun. Really good use of the stuff that they acquired during their trip. So that was also very, very enjoyable. And had a good time with that. I am very much looking forward to trying to clean that up and getting it published at some point. I think I might talk to Dave about that because I think it's really fun. Uh, and then I played in Castles and Crusades. Excuse me. Oh, and Amazing Adventures. I don't have my water is gone. I'm going to leave pretty soon so I can go get some more water. So I played in Amazing Adventures and Castles and Crusades. Both use the Siege engine, which is Troller Games' game engine. I really liked it for fantasy. I had run Castles and Crusades about a year and a half ago now, maybe 2 years now, for about a year. So maybe it was 3 years ago for about a year. And that campaign fizzled out, but I liked the system. It was fun to run. People are just ready for something different than a slightly different version of D&D. And Amazing Adventures was cool. Jason was the guy who ran it. He's the guy who wrote the book. He did a fantastic job. We played the young guns in a zombie apocalypse. That was really cool. There were a couple of really cinematic moments. Did a great job with it. I am not completely convinced that Siege Engine works really well for modern. I felt a little bit like some of the hacks people do to try to make 5e do everything. But it was fun to play. It was fun to roll. I got to blow Beelzebub's head off. That was also a good time. Very, very cool. Talked to some wonderful vendors as much as I could. Tried to recruit some folks for EcclesiaCon this year. Maybe we'll get some bites. And that's all I got. So I'm going to go to bed because I'm really, really tired and I'm losing my voice. But I hope I can be back on tomorrow with Justin and maybe a couple other folks who were there so that we can talk about what it was like this year. It was a much bigger space. I was not prepared for how much bigger it was because we had about 2,500 last year all told. And essentially the entire convention was where the 2 vendor halls were this year. So now we had a massive space and like it looked like there was a huge amount of tables. And the weather also kind of slowed traffic down a little bit because there was a lot of snow in the area this weekend. Always has to snow on Page weekend. And so it was very spread out, but there were the people they were expecting to be there, but it was such a bigger space. Like we almost need like 7,000 people, like almost double what we had to make that space feel as bustling as the old space was with 2,500. Maybe 5,000 will do it because there's just so much. You can go places and hide places. So there's always an open table. It was very nice. There was a good energy, but it didn't feel like you were being barraged constantly with people. And the seminars were out in proper seminar rooms, which was also really cool, which I was in one. So that was fun. So yeah, it was a good time. I really had a good time. And I am really tired and I need to figure out who it is who gave me that Eagles helmet. So if anybody knows, let me know. Got some cool stuff, played some cool games, had a lot of fun, and I'm going to bed. So until we see each other again, folks, happy playing, everyone.